Hello and welcome back to the very emotional last episode of Let's Build Erebor. Oh man. And as we fly through these streets of Dale, it's just reminding me how long we've been building this thing. It's taken us so much time just to get inside the mountain of Erebor itself. But we conquered Dale, we got the whole thing built, and we finally made our way inside these rocky halls. And once we were here, we started to carve out this cool entrance hall, well lit, full of brick, and then we made our way to the throne room. Now there's a couple of things left to be done in here, namely putting a throne in there, adding a few pillars, one underneath the throne, and of course changing the lighting. So without further ado, let's get back to building. Now the first thing I wanted to do was build the pillar that holds up the throne. And so that you guys can see better what I'm doing down here, I built a core of glowstone and then built around it with darkstone brick. Then I copy and pasted a pattern all the way down to the bottom. Trimmed out some of the glowstone, put down some torches so you guys can better see what I'm doing, and then got to work creating and crafting a pattern around these blocks to make the pillar look good. Now I like the feel and the look of lapis lazuli, so what I've been doing is throwing that and splashing that around the build to add a bit of colour and decoration to the interiors of these dwarven halls. And once I put down some lapis lazuli, I added some lighter stone brick step struts in between the pillars. And this is because this is the pillar that holds up the throne itself. The King of Erebor, the mighty lord of these dwarven halls, is going to be sitting on that throne. And he needs to make sure, well, because the king's always a pretty chubby chap, he needs to make sure he's well supported and that the pillar that's underneath him can hold his weight. Now with that pillar complete, I came above and chiseled out again. I built a pillar of glowstone so you guys can better see what I'm doing. But then I put down, using slabs, a small platform to put the throne on. Now most of the reference images that I looked at of the throne room of Erebor had a kind of jaggedy spike style thing coming out from the top of the throne. That's it looks like like a big pointing stalactite down to the throne. So I wanted to recreate that with stone brick and again lapis lazuli. And so what you see me doing here, around this core of glowstone, is decorating this sharp pointy spike that reaches down from the ceiling right towards where the dwarven king is going to seat himself. But the design here is pretty simple. It's just light and dark stone brick, some lapis lazuli here and there, and I used steps to soften the hard edges of the lapis lazuli. Now it got a bit dark, so I put down a few torches so you guys can see what I'm doing. And then in some of the corners and the nooks and crannies, I put in some more light stone brick steps and some iron fence posts. Now it was time to make the throne itself. Now originally I considered stone brick, but then I thought no, I wanted to make the throne out of quartz. So using quartz blocks and quartz steps, I constructed this pretty simple throne. It's simple but effective. It does exactly what it says on the tin. A fine dwarven king can sit on that throne and have no worries. It might be a bit hard though. He could probably use a cushion or two to cushion his seating, but for the most part that throne is pretty cool. Then it was time to add some decoration to the ceiling. I'm not sure if we're going to like the ceiling all that much, but having a flat surface of the ceiling is kind of off-putting, and if people do look up at the ceiling, they're going to think to themselves, well, everything else is quite well decorated, but the ceiling itself is pretty lazy. And that's the one thing you have to remember. When you're building a building or a large project in Minecraft, and you have these big flat surfaces of one single type of block, it can look a bit crap. And a way to fix that, a great way to fix that, is just to add a little bit of detail here and there. And in this case, what we were doing is adding these large squares of lightstone brick and connecting them with ridges of light stone brick steps. The glowstone is there to light up the room and to help me map out where the centre of the top of the roof would be. But here you can see the finished throne, those quartz blocks and steps in the centre of that platform, and the finished roof detail. And with that done, there's only one last thing to do, and that's to remove all the lights from the throne room. So as the camera pulls back to the beginning of the hall, we slowly begin to turn all of the lava into obsidian and to suck all of the oxygen out of the room and extinguish those torches and turn them into air. Now you might be thinking, how on earth did I manage to get all of the light sucked out of the room and then manage to go back in and see what I was doing when I put down the torches? And here's a small little secret. I use a potion of night vision when I'm building to help me better see what I'm doing. But unfortunately, potions of night vision don't work when you're using shaders, which is why I can't use that to help you guys see what I'm doing. But as I go back in, I'm using the same formula of putting down wooden fence posts with torches on top to light up the way. Now I wanted to light the walkways without you being able to see the light too much, especially not when you're walking on them. So if you do walk along this walkway, you can't see how it's lit up, but you can know that it is lit up because you can see where you're going. I then hid torches behind the lapis lazuli on the side detail, so that again you can see that the detail is lit up, but you can't see exactly how or where the torches are. And then when we arrived at the throne itself, I put up some cobblestone wall posts, and again put torches on top of those. Coming around to the pillars at the back, and again adding fence posts with torches on top to increase the lighting. And as you pan back at the front of the room, you can see this is what the room looks like with the proper lighting in place. You can't see that ugly floor of lava, and the darkness adds that feeling of depth and just the fact that if you fell off this walkway, you could be falling forever. I then came around to the dark stone brick decorations we had on the back, behind the throne. And what I've done here is I put torches behind the decoration. Again, this is a great way for you to light something up, but to hide the torches. And sometimes you want to be able to see something, but you don't want to see the light source. So using the same pattern, I came behind these panel decorations of dark stone brick and splashed some torches there. I then added some more torches to the pillars at the back, and we are pretty much done with the throne room of Erebor. Now I know that there are a few more rooms inside Erebor that we said we'd do. We said we'd come back and we'd hit the smeltery, the grand forge, because no dwarven fortress is complete without a large smeltery and forge. There's also the treasure room, because the dwarves amass fine amounts of gold, tons and tons of the jewels and precious things, but they need a place to store that, and we needed to build a treasure room for that. We also needed the mines that the dwarves would dig deep inside to get all of their gold. But this build has taken so long, and I'm so keen to move on to other things, that I want to take a stopgap at the throne room, maybe come back in future to finish off the smeltery, the treasure rooms, and of course the mines. But for the time being, I think we're done with Erebor. Now this is a pretty cool build, it's been a lot of fun. One of the things I've learned though, is that building inside a mountain was really, really tricky. One of the main problems we had was the fact that there's no light inside these areas, so I had to fill up the areas with lava and torches just to be able to see what I was doing, and so that I could show you guys at home what I was doing as well. So outside builds are definitely easier, because you can always set it to daytime and you've always got the sun on your back while you're building. But as we pull back from Erebor, it's been such an emotional experience. This has been a huge Let's Build. This has spanned over 25 episodes, I think, which is pretty insane. The biggest one I've had before this was maybe 12 or 13, I think, with the Evil Fortress. But as night falls in Dale, we draw Erebor to its conclusion. We finally finished this build, and we're moving on to bigger, well actually probably smaller things, but more intimate projects that we can get more into. I've been Sjin, and this has been Let's Build Erebor. Hit like and favorite and subscribe, and I'll see you for our next build, which I think will be Arendelle from Frozen. But until next time, take care.